I never meant for any of this to happen. When I look back, it feels less like a choice and more like a slow unraveling, a thread being pulled quietly until one day the whole fabric of my life was spread open before me. And here I am, writing these words like they are a confession I can't give to anyone but the page. I don't know if it's guilt that drives me, or the unbearable silence that has grown around me like ivy, clinging tighter the more I try to ignore it. My name is Sarah Bennett. I am 39 years old. I have been married to David for 15 years, and together we raised a son, Ethan, who is now in college. From the outside, our life looks steady, maybe even enviable. We live in Pine Valley, a quiet little town where lawns are trimmed to perfection and gossip carries faster than the wind. I work in real estate, so my face is familiar around here, though familiarity doesn't feel the same as being known. Most days, I feel like I have blended into the wallpaper of my own life. People recognize my name, they wave, they smile politely at open houses, but no one really sees me. Not even David. Especially not David. I don't want to paint him as a villain. David is a good man. Dependable. Loyal. He works hard, he provides for us, he likes things neat and predictable. Our home reflects him perfectly, spotless counters, organized mail, not a cushion out of place. There's a comfort in his order, I know that. But over the years, what began as stability grew into something that felt more like confinement. Our conversations became shallow, our laughter faded. He said my name like it was part of a checklist. Sarah, did you pay the bill? Sarah, did you call the plumber? Rarely just Sarah for no reason at all. When Ethan left for college, the house grew even quieter. At first, I thought I would relish the stillness, the way some mothers do when the nest is empty. But silence doesn't feel restful when it follows years of being unheard. It feels like an echo chamber, amplifying every thought you wish you could silence. I'd walk into the bedroom after my shower, sit on the edge of the bed, and stare at the mirror across from me. The reflection was harsh, unforgiving. A woman whose face carried the years, whose eyes seemed duller than she remembered. And sometimes I would sit there, towel wrapped loosely around me, and wonder, when was the last time anyone looked at me and truly saw me? Not as a mother, not as a wife, not as a neighbor who baked cookies for the church fundraiser, but as a woman. That was when Noah returned. Noah had been Ethan's best friend in high school. He was at our house more often than not back then, lanky, messy-haired, always hungry. I still remember one summer when he helped us paint the fence. He had cereal at our table, he napped on our couch. Back then, he was just a boy. But college had come and gone, and now he was back in Pine Valley, working with his father's landscaping business. The first time I saw him again, I was in the driveway gathering mail, and he pulled up in his battered pickup truck. His hair was shorter, his frame broader. He waved and smiled, but it wasn't the shy grin of a teenager anymore. It was something steadier, something that made me pause. At first, it was nothing, little moments you'd overlook if you weren't starved for them. He came by to help with the yard, and I brought him lemonade. He asked about Ethan, and then about me. Not just in passing, not out of politeness, but with a focus that felt startling. When our hands brushed as I gave him a pair of gardening gloves, my stomach fluttered in a way I hadn't felt in years. I told myself it was nothing, but the truth was, I began to look forward to his presence. I found myself smoothing my hair before stepping onto the porch, choosing a nicer blouse even if I wasn't going anywhere. He noticed details David had long stopped noticing. A new book on the counter. A song humming softly from the radio. It began so innocently. Small exchanges. A shared joke. A glance that lingered just a second too long. I should have recognized the slope I was sliding down, but when you've been starved of something, even crumbs feel like a feast. Noah didn't call me Mrs. Bennett anymore. He called me Sarah. And it had been so long since my name had sounded like it belonged to me. One evening, as I folded laundry, my phone buzzed. It was Noah. Do you ever feel like nobody sees you anymore? I stared at the message for a long time. It was too close to the bone, too exact. Finally, I typed back, yes. Every day. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing the hum of the fridge downstairs, the faint creak of the old floorboards. And for the first time in years, my chest felt alive with something I couldn't name. From then on, there was no going back. He started coming around more. We would talk on the porch steps, sometimes for an hour. He told me about his mother's struggles with depression, about how he sometimes felt trapped in Pine Valley, about the music he loved. I told him about my old job as a teacher before marriage, about the books I used to read before life became endless errands, about the songs I still hummed when no one was listening. These weren't things David and I spoke of anymore. He had his conferences, his tidy schedules, his world of order. I had my silence. And now, I had Noah's attention. The night everything changed was one of those evenings where rain turns the world silver. David was in Denver at a work conference. Noah had texted earlier about checking the gutters, though it was obvious he didn't really need to. When I left the key under the ceramic frog by the back door, my hands were shaking. I told myself it was harmless. Just Noah. Just a neighborly favor. But when he came in, soaked from the rain, his shirt clinging to him, the air between us shifted. We stood in the garage, water dripping onto the cement floor, silence heavy as thunderclouds. You're soaked, I said, my voice trembling. So are you, he replied, though I was dry. He stepped closer, hesitant, his eyes searching mine. Is this wrong? He whispered. And in that moment, my heart screamed yes, but my body ached for something else. I leaned into him, and that was the moment the line blurred forever. His lips met mine, tentative at first, almost as if he feared I would vanish. But I didn't. I stayed. I let myself be pulled into a storm I had pretended for years I didn't need. I won't write what happened next in detail, not because I don't remember, but because some truths are too heavy to set down in ink. What mattered wasn't the physical closeness but the way it awakened me. Every touch felt like a confession. Every breath felt stolen. When it was over, we stood together in silence, the air buzzing with something too big for words. I won't pretend this didn't happen, he said quietly before he left. When David returned from Denver, I acted normal. I cooked dinner, asked about his trip, folded laundry. But I wasn't the same. Something inside me had shifted. My own name sounded foreign in my mouth, like I had borrowed it from another life. Noah and I tried to go back to normal, but normal no longer existed. Our texts continued, short but loaded. You seemed quiet today. Just tired. Lies layered over truth. Passing him in the hallway felt electric, unbearable. I caught myself putting on lip balm before seeing him, my pulse racing for no reason other than knowing he might glance at me. David noticed, in his own way. One evening over dinner, he commented that Noah seemed off lately. Not his usual self, he said casually, spooning peas onto his plate. My heart pounded so loud I could barely breathe, but he didn't suspect. How could he? He was too wrapped in the world he understood, the neat world of order and control. Noah began to withdraw. He stopped coming by as often, leaving a wrench behind in our garage like a ghost of what had happened. Once, I saw him at the market, earbuds in, grabbing a carton of milk. He didn't see me, or maybe he chose not to. I stood frozen, watching him walk away, my throat tight with words I couldn't speak. A few days later, I found him in our guest room, staring at a framed photo of me from years ago, a younger version of myself, smiling without effort. His voice was barely a whisper when he said, "I don't know how to be around you anymore." "Then don't," I forced out, though my throat burned with the lie. He turned to me, eyes heavy. "Is that what you want?" I couldn't answer. I grabbed a blanket from the bed and left the room, my chest aching. Later, when I was alone, I whispered to the empty walls, "You were so deep inside me that night, and I still wanted more." What does that make me? The silence answered nothing, but in my mind, I heard Noah's voice again. It makes you honest. David noticed the guest room door ajar one morning. "Anything wrong?" he asked. I mumbled about forgetting to close it, but heat crawled up my neck. Guilt is a living thing. It breathes inside you, presses against your ribs, whispers in your ear when the house is quiet. Noah quit helping around the house after that. His toolbox stayed in the garage, gathering dust. I saw him once more at the store, reaching for frozen food, his shoulders tense, his face unreadable. I stood frozen again, heart lodged in my throat, and let him leave. At home, I stood by the bedroom window long after the sun had set, waiting for the faint glow of his truck's headlights, listening for the crunch of tires on gravel. Nothing came. Only silence. And yet, in that silence, I felt more awake than I had in years. "I'm not sorry," I whispered into the night. The guilt was sharp, yes, but beneath it was something undeniable. I felt alive. For the first time in years, I wasn't sleepwalking through my days. I had been seen. Desired. Remembered as a woman. And yet, I know the cost. I know that once a line is crossed, it cannot be uncrossed. The Sarah who drove home that night was not the same Sarah who had folded laundry on countless evenings, who had smiled politely at neighbors, who had sat silently at dinners with David. She was someone new. Someone who had been reminded of her own heart, her own hunger to live. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe Noah will fade into memory, a ghost I carry quietly. Maybe the truth will surface, as truth often does in towns like Pine Valley. Or maybe I will live the rest of my life with this secret lodged inside me, a reminder of the moment I stepped outside the lines and discovered I was still alive beneath the layers of routine and silence. I don't ask for forgiveness. I don't even know if I want it. What I want is to be honest, with myself, if no one else. And this, here on the page, is the only place I can be. So I write it all down, and I close the diary, knowing that even if the world never hears it, the words exist. The truth exists. And that, for now, is enough. And so I carry this truth in silence, hidden from the world, carved deep inside my heart. Maybe one day it will fade, maybe it never will. But I ask you, if you had been me, trapped in the silence of my life, aching to feel alive again, what would you have done? Tell me in the comments, I truly want to know. And if my confession stayed with you, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because stories like mine, they are never just mine alone.